once again, we welcome you back to the happening place, the Gbaramatuvoice election headquarters, the place to be. We are not taking your, presence for granted. We obviously appreciate you. You are doing so great. You are doing so well by staying glued to Gbaramatuvoice. And on our own part, we'll continue to give you the assurance that we will not in any way, disappoint you or take for granted this vested interest in Gbaramatuvoice. You've been so wonderful, and we encourage you to remain with us. At this segment, we are having, as our guest, a renowned professor based in the U.S. Is the president of Niger Diaspora Council, a well-informed Nigerian and quietly influential. The conversation promises to be, rewarded. Please don't go away. At intervals, we're going to be bringing to you, the ongoing developments at the INEC Collation Center in Abuja. It has recently released by the electoral umpire. The full-blown collation will commence at exactly 6 p.m. But before then, I have to as well introduce my hard-working colleague in the person of
Bravo Vanessa.
Vanessa, you've been working so hard. But you need it. This is what it means to be, this is the practical definition of patriotism. To be patriotic is not, to profess it. You need to take action or take practical steps towards making it a realizable endeavor. So, again, collectively, we welcome you to this special broadcast. As you're well aware, in those areas where election did not hold here in Warri South local government, yes, as we speak, elections currently ongoing, going by information, as released by INEC. And at the same time, earlier this morning, we equally told you that, some of the people that couldn't vote yesterday, protested right in front of the INEC office here in Warri. Maybe plus or minus, that contributed to INEC's decision to take action and address their issue. We are all doing well, we are all making progress. One good thing about this election, Vanessa, is that, it's full of surprises. I don't know if it is because of the so-called third force from the Labour Party. One of those, great shock came from the Labour Party sweeping impact at the coastal axis of the state. We are asked not to, it's not our duty to declare results, but based on eyewitness accounts as reported by some of our correspondents that were right inside the coastal part of the state to cover the presidential and national assembly election in those axes, they came back with, sterling revelations. So I will continue to ask until I get, a concrete answer to that question. Should we say that the people of the Niger Delta, the coastal community, they are revolting against the present administration in the state?
Like we have been asking ourselves and discussing, we say Nigerians are tired.
Yeah.
These people are part of Nigerians. They are a part of this country.
Of course.
So if we say Nigerians are tired, even the people at the coastal region, urban, they're all tired. Everybody is tired.
Exactly, and absolutely. I'm always very skeptical about describing people on that axis as part of Nigeria. On a serious note.
Where would you say that?
No, the first day I traveled to via, speedboat to Gbaramatu Kingdom to Burutu. At a point, you don't need anybody to tell you that there is no government presence. Even the governor of the state, is clueless about how to locate. But the painful thing is that, the painful part of that commentary is that those places the federal government and the state government claims that are marshy, that as a result, that the terrain are marshy, and as a result they could not, build bridges and go. You see the same marshy area being crisscrossed by pipelines, that ferries crude oil from that axis to where it is loaded and, shipped out of this country. Now the question is, if you can lay pipelines through those marshy creeks, why can't we use the same dexterity to build, bridges across, to link those communities?
Yes.
I don't think, what it's not about the nature of the area. It's about lack of, political will to actually assist the people of that region. Yeah, they are just on their own. I think the only contact, according to what one of them told me, when my journalistic instinct, came up, and I got into discussion with him, and he said, that these politicians, they visit here just once in 4 years.
Once in 4 years?
Once in 4 years. And what are they coming for? To campaign for votes. And as soon as that vote is gotten,
but even at that, you see this mammoth crowd during these campaigns from these politicians. You see them still responding to the politicians.
No, it's as simple as that. Socioeconomically, the politicians know how to play the game. Okay. They have weaponized poverty.
Okay.
Yeah, they have weaponized poverty, and this is now an era. Okay, before the event of yesterday, it used to be half loaf is better than none. I beg, make I collect. If you no collect, another person go collect them, and make we collect them. God go punish them. You understand? You just collect and vote for them, and But I'm beginning to feel that political awakening and consciousness is like growing. I pray that we build on what has been achieved in this current election, and I equally encourage the people of that region in particular to replicate what happened yesterday in the forthcoming election, come March 11, I think.
11th, yes.
Yeah, joining us now is Professor Monday Gold. He is the president of the Ijaw Diasporal Council. He is based or resident in the US. Prof. Hello, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to you from the United States. How are you doing today?
All right. Thank you. Based on GMT, I say good morning to you, sir, but it's actually afternoon cruising towards evening here. But good morning, sir. How are you, sir?
I am fine. I am so happy to be with you today.
Thank you so much. It's boldly written on your voice that you're fine. Jerome Tommy is my name, and with me is
Rebel Vanessa.
We are operating right from the Gbaramatuvoice studio, tagged Gbaramatuvoice election headquarters. So, on behalf of the CEO of Gbaramatuvoice, we thank you for this time. We just have to thank you even before we go into the kernel of our conversations today. So, again, you are welcome, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now,
sir, the world is a global village, and I'm sure we are aware of the general elections that took place yesterday, in Nigeria.
And you must have viewed.
And you must have viewed and seen a lot of happenings and procedures throughout the elections. Please, can you share your experience with us?
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I want to use the opportunity to thank Gbaramatuvoice for the incredible job.
Thank you
so much,
sir. Over the years, Gbaramatuvoice has been able to disseminate accurate and timely information to Nigerians around the world. So it is important that we recognize their contribution as relates to the peace and development of Nigeria.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, yesterday we had a presidential and national assembly elections.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, and I must tell you that we've not had rest. We have been following all the activities in all the states, 36 states in Nigeria.
Wow.
And we have received somehow information that is not really encouraging. But we hope that the INEC chairman will do the needful to make sure that there is no political unrest or ethnic crisis in Nigeria. And so that is my first take. You know that the current system has been on for almost over 20 years now.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the presidential system that we are practicing in Nigeria is experiencing a lot of challenges. And we are so very, very concerned. So let's see. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for that brief but very detailed introduction and expression of your views about the election. Now, thank God you're based in the United States. We practice here in Nigeria a presidential system of government. And thankfully, we copied presidential version of, our own system of government from the United States. Sir, when you place side by side presidential system of government of that of the US and what is going on here in Nigeria for the past 24 years, how can you assess it, sir?
Thank you for the excellent question. Yes, Nigeria is emulating the political system in the United States, but a lot has to be, we are still far behind. I say that because it is almost 24 hours and no state election has been declared. That is not the American system. We practice as the elections are coming in, we are declaring the winners. So what we have in Nigeria is a situation where they are waiting for all the results to be collated before declaring the winner of the election. And as far as we are concerned, that is creating room for manipulation. Yes, creating room for manipulation. If Lagos State, if they have completed the count of the Lagos State votes, declare the votes right away. There is no point waiting for Kano to complete their exercise and Sokoto to do the same thing or Rivers State to do the same thing before declaring the winner or declaring the results. So we believe that the desire, the practice where the commission, the INEC waits for the total collation of all the results before declaring the winner is creating room for confusion in Nigeria. So that is not what is obtainable in the United States. I have answered your question.
Yes, yeah, very, very direct and simple.
So, sir, what's the way forward?
Well, first and foremost, there has to be institutional change. Right now, there are several reports of the inefficiency of the BVAS machines, and there has been we have seen situations where, or instances where the military of some military officers and police officers are collaborating or colluding with INEC officials to change results. I don't know if that is true, but we have seen young children less than 18 years thumb printing. We have seen where people who are legally registered in a specific polling unit are being directed to go back to their local government areas to vote. So the way forward is to come up with a system where individuals must see themselves, or the government must ensure that individuals are given the right to vote in areas that they have registered. Right now, I am of the impression, I strongly believe that INEC to a large extent is ineffective. I'm sorry to say that. You know, because with this, after 4 years of learning from, you know, trying to make relevant changes, because the elections of 2019 or so had some problems. And what we are seeing today is not really, there's not much difference between the election yesterday and the election of 2019.
Wow.
For us to move forward, it is necessary for us to say, can we continue to rely on INEC? If we can't, then we need to find right now some sort of way, an independent way to verify the authenticity of the results that has to be declared by INEC. That is one of the best ways to ensure that the elections, the outcome is accepted or is acceptable to all stakeholders. That is one way to ensure that the international community that has been keenly watching the outcome of the Nigerian election will be satisfied. Otherwise, the outcome, whoever might be the president, will be questionable.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Once again.
So is it INEC or the Electoral Act that's the problem?
Well, I think there are loopholes in the Electoral Act, but as far as I'm concerned, INEC has a major role to play. Because the results, the Electoral Act, there are provisions in the Electoral Act that says that the transmission of elections would be done within a specific period of time. But I think INEC has not followed that requirement as stipulated in the Electoral Act. It's almost 24 hours. And so then for us to say they have challenges in actually downloading or uploading the information, the results from the various units, it is mind-boggling. It is some people are under the impression that they are waiting to do what they are not supposed to do in a way that will undermine the opinion, the general view of the population. What we want is a peaceful transition, but INEC is not doing some of the critical things that needs to be done to minimize the either false or false impressions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We obviously appreciate your candid, response to our questions. And sir, there is this belief, across board that electoral practices in Nigeria is capital intensive. Is that argument a valid one?
That is true. It's capital intensive.
It's capital intensive.
Yeah, so it's capital. Of course it is, because it requires INEC to make sure that election materials are distributed in the 744 local government areas. That requires movement of, it requires a lot of logistics, transportation of the personnel and the equipment requires money. And so it is really capital intensive. And you have that equipment. They have come up with different ways of ensuring a free, fair, and credible election. And again, that requires money. So to answer your question, yes, it is capital intensive.
So, sorry, I have to ask this question again. Is there any way forward out of that circle? Because, you know, once resources are being spent, there should be concern in management to reduce it, to beat it down. So, or should we continue this way, sir? Or is what is obtainable here in Nigeria the same with the United States experience?
No, certainly not. Certainly not. Certainly not. There are fundamental issues in the Nigerian presidential system.
Okay.
And I am not sure if today is the right time to go into all the details. But first and foremost, some of us, we do not believe that the National Assembly, the way it is, will serve the interest of Nigerians. First and foremost. So because if you have the Senate and the National and the House of Representatives, but if you look at the financial implications, first and foremost, we have to ask a very honest question. Should we go with the current system? What is it that the National Assembly should do that the Senate cannot do? You know, so we have to be conscious of what is good for Nigeria. And that is not really what is happening now. We've been in the current system for almost 24 or thereabout years. And what we are seeing is constant progressive retrogression. We are not moving as fast as we should. So when you see that there are errors that are consistently being repeated, then there is genuine cause for concern. And so what we need to do, number one, as I've said earlier on, as long as INEC is declaring election on cumulative basis, I must assure you that is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
They are intentionally creating room for manipulation. We in the United States, the election in New York State, as the moment the votes are counted, proper checks and balances are verified, the election is declared in that state as who is the winner of that presidential election. But when you continue to wait for all the 36 states to be properly verified the way they are going through their form of verification, it is going to continue to create problems. Right now, there are instances where you have fake results being sent to INEC. How are you going to prevent such manipulations? How are you going to prevent what is happening in Lagos State and Rivers State in particular? Something has to be done. When you continue to believe that it should always be business as usual, then the outcome will be difficult, and in terms of how it's going to be different from the previous outcome. And so, conscious effort has to be made in terms of the structure of INEC. Let me tell you, INEC has moved away from using independent returning officers, the lecturers. That is also an issue. Now, they are now using INEC staff to do a whole lot of things that are very sensitive. So, but this is the first time we are moving from the old way within this area, and it seems to me that already there are challenges.
No,
where
sir.
INEC officers, we have videos and other forms of reports showing how some INEC officers, some military personnel, some police officers are preventing law-abiding Nigerians from performing their civic duties. And I must tell you, that is a source of major concern.
This is serious. So, but just for the purpose of clarity, so that our viewers can get your position very well. But there is this belief in some quarters that even when professors from the Nigerian universities were used as returning officers, that they fared no better. Am I in line with, is my argument straight?
Yes or no?
Sir?
Your argument, yes. I said yes or no. Look at it this way.
Okay.
I said earlier on that when INEC cannot declare the winner of a presidential election in a specific state and wait for the outcome of the winner of the election based on the availability of all the results of the 36 states.
Okay.
I said earlier on, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a major concern because you are now creating room. You begin to see who is going to be your preferred candidate, and before you know it, there will be all sorts of financial inducements. There will be all sorts of unnecessary phone calls to undermine the integrity of INEC. Unnecessary pressure. So let us take one step at a time by ensuring that as the moment all the ballot papers are counted in, let's say in Bayelsa, it should be declared as such. Let us also make sure that the results sheets that are supposed to be transmitted are transmitted on time. There has to be a fallback strategy where if there is a problem with any of the BVAS machines. Yes, there has to be. We are in a technology era, so you cannot depend on that. The system is. You know that individuals have the capacity to jam INEC system. So why is it there was no? I'm not sure why INEC did not take all necessary precautions to ensure that if their system fails, they will still have the capacity to declare elections as they come in. We don't know.
It's a serious challenge.
So it is not about if you allow the university lecturers to come in. Yes, in every system there will be some challenges. Certainly, there will be some challenges. But the independence of the lecturers, the benefits of using independent lecturers or independent group of people is far better than using INEC staff for collating the results. Honestly.
Okay, thank you, sir. But as a background to help establish why you maybe responded this way, I may politely ask, sir, when did you left Nigeria? What year, sir? As in how many? We may not be precise, but like a decade ago, or 2, or even 3 years ago.
No, why
I'm asking the question is that you appear to be defending your constituency.
No, I'm just not necessarily defending my. No, not at all. That's not the way it is. I am more concerned about the unity and development of Nigeria.
Okay, all right,
it doesn't matter if you are using any group of individuals as an independent entity to checkmate INEC is okay. It doesn't have to be lecturers.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be. You can use even elementary school teachers as long as they are properly trained to do the job.
Yes, okay. All right, sir.
But to answer your question, I was in Nigeria a few years ago.
Okay.
I have been in Nigeria in and out consistently for the last 10 years.
Wow, that's a great
in and out of Nigeria.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, let's go back home, which is the Niger Delta, sir. Let's use this opportunity provided by this interview to touch on some critical issues about Niger, about the confronting or bedeviling the region.
So, who is to blame for the underdevelopment of the Niger Delta? Is it the state or the federal government?
Both.
So how do you mean?
Well, first of all, you know, we have specific funds set aside for the development of the Niger Delta.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you also know that there are some states in the Niger Delta that have created a specific agency for the development of their state. For example, in Delta State, you have those
the SOPADEC. The SOPADEC.
Yes, exactly. You have that. Okay. You do not have a similar agency in River State or Bayelsa.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you do not have a blueprint for development, and you rely the developmental agenda is based on the interest of a specific political party or governor, you will not have the desired level of development. Because what we are seeing in the Niger Delta is that governors are always, to a large extent, reluctant to continue with the uncompleted projects of their predecessors.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a lot of uncompleted projects, abandoned projects in all these states. I know this is a very sensitive issue, so I don't want to be mentioning names. Okay. But if you go to these states, you will always find projects that are abandoned. Okay. You will see roads that are abandoned. You will see hotels that have been abandoned. You will see amusement parks that have been abandoned. So, when a group of people are more concerned about the next election as opposed to the next generation, is a major concern, and that is what we are seeing. Now, it is also true that we've not received enough funds from the federal government. We need more, because if you go to Niger to the NDDC, you will also see thousands of abandoned projects. You see, so the federal government itself is not doing enough. Okay. Because there are certain things that the federal government should do that they are not doing. For example, the east-west road. It is so painful that the east-west road has not been properly completed after 8 years. You see, so that is why I am saying the answer is yes. The underdevelopment of the Niger Delta, the states should be held responsible in as much as the federal government should be held responsible, because they are all guilty of when it comes to the underdevelopment of the Niger Delta.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You know, in fact, you brought in a new dimension to such a question. We have asked these questions at different fora, and many people brazenly blame the federal government while exonerating the state government. But sir, as a follow-up to this question, sir, let's assume that if the amount that has so far been given or paid to the Niger Delta via 13% derivation, or the statutory budget always given to the NDDC were well spent, do you think Niger Delta region would have been more developed than this?
Of course, yes.
Of course, yes. Okay. Now,
because it is so painful that my community in both Delta State and River State are underdeveloped. I don't know of any other place, but in my local government areas, we should be able to drive from Bomondi to Indoro without any problems. Okay, yes. We should be able to drive from Amasoma to Peratorbene without any problems. But that is not the case. Apart from the road infrastructure, I come from a community that is in total darkness. I come from Torubele, a community that by now should have clean drinking water. They don't have it. A community that should have electricity is non-existent. A community that should have basic medical facilities, non-existent. So the list goes on and on and on, and thousands of people are dying on a daily basis because of lack of development in all these local government areas. So it's disturbing.
Wow. Okay, we move on, because this conversation, in as much as is coming at a time where we are having the Gbaramatuvoice electoral headquarters, a program package to give, minute by minute development as it pertains to the recently held presidential election, presidential and national assembly election in the country. We are equally going to use this same opportunity provided by this conversation to make it a Niger Delta specific, gathering. Sir, going by that fact, there is this clamor for resource control. In fact, it's unabating. Many believes that it will act as the only sustainable solution to Niger Delta underdevelopment. Do you believe in that school of thought, sir?
Yes.
Sir?
Of course. Yes, I do.
Okay. Why, sir?
Again, this is a sensitive question. I'll put it this way.
All right, sir.
The resources over the years have not been properly managed. But I know that if we follow the tenets of resource control, there will be more development in the Niger Delta. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. If we have control of our resources in the Niger Delta, I do not think that the thousands of us from the Niger Delta living outside the country will be outside the country.
Okay.
So we should have opportunity to manage our resources, because that is what is obtainable in developed countries. So this is not a debatable issue. It's not debatable at all. People are reluctant to allow the Niger Delta to manage their affairs the way they should manage because of political convenience. Otherwise, it's not debatable. Go to states like Texas, go to other areas where natural resources are found. In Nigeria, to a large extent, there is so much injustice. Even the gold that is being found in other northern parts of Nigeria, the governors have direct access to what is obtainable and what they should do with the money coming from that place. So to answer resource control, absolutely, we should have a direct control of how we produce and how we spend the money. And whatever that is left behind, then we'll take care of that. But the individual, this is not only about the Niger Delta. This is not only an interest of the Job people, Orobo people, the Soko, whatever, any other area that is producing oil. There has to be a general understanding that what we are asking for has been practiced in Nigeria. It is also obtainable in developed countries such as the United States of America. There is no way, as of today, the literacy level in Nigeria within the context of Niger Delta is mind-boggling. And as long as we are prevented from managing our resources, there is no other injustice more than that, to put it to you. So, but I hope that the incoming government will address this specific issue once and for all. Because I want to be able to do the basic things that I want to do in my community, in my local government, in my state, and in Nigeria.
Sir,
I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, you have. But are you a proponent of winner take all, sir?
Absolutely not.
But from the tone of the argument,
we need each other. Okay. We need each other.
Yes. All right.
We need each other. What is not found in Niger Delta, you can find something of value of equal value in other part of the country. And so what I said earlier on, managing your resources, we call it resource control.
Yes.
So maybe the phrase is confusing to people. But in developed countries, you manage your resources and pay taxes to the federal government. That is what is done now. So it should not be about, it is not a question of asking for a special preference, so to say, but it is what is obtainable in developed countries. So what the people are asking for is not out of the ordinary, if I may put it that way.
Thank you so much, sir. Then my colleague have a question for you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, what about the PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act?
Is he not taking, maybe to help broaden that question, sir? There is this, many believe that even though that the Niger Delta region may not be controlling their resources, but there is a high volume of money coming back to the region. Going by the enabling acts, we have the NDDC Act establishing NDDC, and from its provision, it has about the 15% of whatever that is sold goes back, is given to NDDC. We have 13% derivation which goes to the Niger Delta state governors. Then we have FAC, the federal allocation, that when this money is cumulatively pulled together, that gives, insight to the fact that the region must or might have gotten the lion's shares from their resources. Is it in line with what you have in mind, sir? Is that not a euphemistic meaning of resource control?
It's part of it.
Okay.
It is part of it, but we can do things better. It is part of it. Of course, it is. Again, I said earlier on, a lot of politicians are creating the unfavorable situation we have in the Niger Delta and of course in Nigeria. I really don't want to blame the top politicians in the Niger Delta because the system is promoting whatever actions or inactions on the part of the politicians. That is why I said it in passing that by Camel legislature we have in Abuja, it's not making the desired impact.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
We have legislators in some parts of the world, especially China, where the parliamentarians are on part-time basis. Yes. If you have a system where the senator in a developing country makes more money than a senator in a developed country, you have a problem. You cannot be relying on the paying